Hey, did you hear about what happened to Lee Jae-myung, the outspoken leader of South Korea's main opposition party, the Democratic Party? He was stabbed in the neck by some guy with a knife while he was visiting Busan, a city in the southeast. This happened on Tuesday, and the police are still trying to figure out who the attacker was. Lee, who's 59, was rushed to a nearby hospital. The emergency officials said he was awake and not in a critical state, but they didn't give any more details about his condition. So, here's how it went down. Lee was walking through a crowd of journalists and other people after he finished touring a new airport site in Busan. This guy, pretending to be a fan, came up to Lee asking for an autograph. But then, he stabbed Lee in the neck. That's what the Busan police are saying. Lee fell to the ground, and someone quickly pressed a handkerchief to his neck to stop the bleeding. A witness, Jae-myung, told YTN television that there was a lot of blood. There are videos on social media showing the suspect, who was wearing a paper crown that said "I'm Lee Jae-myung," being chased and tackled by several people. The police arrested him right there. But when they questioned him, he wouldn't say who he was or why he attacked Lee. The Democratic Party is calling this a terrorist attack on Lee and a serious threat to democracy. They're urging the police to investigate this thoroughly and quickly. Kwon Chil-sung, a spokesperson for the party, told reporters at Busan National University Hospital that they think Lee's jugular vein was damaged and they're worried about the amount of blood he lost. He said Lee was being flown to a hospital in Seoul for surgery. The hospital officials wouldn't say anything about Lee's condition. President Yoon Suk-yeol is really worried about Lee and has ordered an investigation into the attack. He said this kind of violence won't be tolerated. Lee lost the 2022 presidential election to Yoon by just 0.7 percentage point, which is the smallest margin ever in a South Korean presidential election. Since he lost the election, Lee has been really critical of Yoon's major policies. Last year, he even went on a 24-day hunger strike to protest against Yoon's handling of the post-pandemic economy, his hardline policies on North Korea, and his failure to oppose Japan's release of treated radioactive wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear power plant. Lee is also facing some corruption allegations. He's accused of giving unlawful favors to a private investor who made a lot of money from a questionable housing project in Songnam, where Lee was mayor for 10 years until 2018. Lee denies any legal wrongdoing and says Yoon's government is just trying to get back at him politically. Last September, a South Korean court refused to issue an arrest warrant for Lee over these allegations. They said there was no clear risk that he would destroy evidence. This court hearing happened after the opposition-controlled parliament voted to lift Lee's immunity to arrest, showing the growing divisions within his own party over his legal issues. Lee, who used to be the governor of Gyeonggi province, which surrounds Seoul, is known for his blunt style. His supporters see him as a hero who fights against the elite, wants to get rid of corruption, and solve the growing economic inequality. But his critics think he's a dangerous populist who stirs up divisions and demonizes his conservative opponents. Lee has a pretty impressive self-made success story. He worked in a factory as a boy, which left him with an arm disability. But he worked his way through school and passed the country's tough bar exam to become a human rights lawyer. He joined a predecessor of the Democratic Party in 2005. He was a political outsider, but he quickly rose to prominence amid public anger over a big corruption scandal in 2016-17 that led to the removal of then-conservative President Park Geun-hye.